I teach international studies at Cal State Long Beach. I work on Iraq, particularly on the invasion and occupation of Iraq. That started in 2003. I'm also working on collecting stories and oral histories of exiles and refugees, particularly from Iraq. But you know, the history of Iraq and the history of Iraqis is very close to the history of Iran and Iranians. The borders between Iran and Iraq are a very modern phenomenon. It's actually a phenomenon of like post-1950s really, and a bit later. So if you go to the songs and the culture and the language and the cultural production in the beginning of the 20th century, there is a coming together of Farsi and Arabic, of Iranian culture and Arab culture. And so I see that in my work. I'm also influenced, and then the invasion and occupation, what happens after, has a lot to do with the geopolitics and the relationship of the United States to Iran as well. So that makes its way into my work. For me, the things that happen over there are integrally tied to the things that are happening over here. The over here and over there are not distinct categories. They're part and parcel of the same. For me, our moral, intellectual, emotional register should not be confined by the artificial barriers of borders of countries. Because the borders of countries, the way that they exist, are only new things of like 100, 150 years old. So, and economically speaking, that we live at a time when what happens over there, wherever over there is integrally tied. It's part of the same structures that create the conditions over here. For example, the way that we governed Iraq after 2003 during the occupation is very similar to the type of laws and the type of government we envisioned in a place like Detroit in Michigan, especially after the 2008 financial crisis. And the type of ideology we had about how we're going to govern a place like Detroit or Flint, Michigan, and the policies that then went on to create the water crisis in Flint and in Detroit, where people's waters were shut off because they couldn't pay for water, is very similar. In fact, is very much the same as the type of policies we implemented. By we, I mean the United States government implemented in Iraq after the 2003 invasion. So it's not that place over there is very different. It's the same. It's the same type of ideas. It's the same type of policies, and it's the same type of people that are implementing those policies. So then we as non-state people, as non-state actors, should recognize that, because borders only help people in government, not us.